As the dropship was making its landing, the hot air that bellowed from the engine exhausts blew the dusts from the ground. The main hatch opened, revealing the warriors of the Judoan Brotherhood. The scout captain Kazir stepped out, followed by two battle brothers clad in heavy armor. As he stepped out, he saw before him a line of priestesses adorned in plate mail, less bulky and yet more elegant than the ones worn by his own team. "Which one of you is Sister Carmel?" asked Kazir, to which none in front of him replied. "It is I, Captain Kazir," a voice propagated, seemingly out of nowhere, until the dimension between the two parties warped to open a portal from which a larger figure stepped out. The owner of the voice stood tall in a set of armor even heavier, that still held a somewhat graceful silhouette. Sister Carmel looked down at Kazir, smiling upon him. "On behalf of the Order of the Sancta Rosa, I offer you our most sincerest welcome to our training grounds." The captain looked upon the towering figure, unfazed and unintimidated. "Most impressive, Sister Carmel. It would be an honor to test our strength against yours in this joint exercise." From within the landed hovercraft sounded some heavy footsteps that gave the ground a slight tremble. The captain smirked as a hulk of a figure stepped out of the shadows. It stood alongside his captain, taller and wider than Sister Carmel in her armor. Then its Vox communicator projected a deep, thunderous voice. "Indeed, I am most eager to cross swords with you." This is a battle report for a game of OnePageRules Grimdark Future Firefight. Played using the basic rules on version 3.4.1 with 300-point lists adhering to force organization. I play the Battle Brothers, while my opponent plays the Blessed Sisters. Here is my list. The Brotherhood is led by an elite pathfinder wielding a master heavy rifle with 2 shots at a decent range, but more importantly he has advanced tactics, which allows him to move up to 3 other units around him 6 inches in his own activation. The Destroyer is the hard hitter in the list, with the ability to ambush anywhere on the board from round 2 onwards, and charge its target with 3 attacks from the energy sword. There are 2 Battle Brothers with heavy rifles that can provide long-range shots, hitting on a decent 3+ quality. There are 2 Pathfinders, both with shotguns. They fire short-range rounds, but with 2 shots per turn to make up for the lower 4+ quality. They're also a little more frail compared to the Battle Bros, but the stealth camo, which as you can see is bright white and orange, causes enemies to do range attacks with -1 precision if they are not close enough. For my opponent's list. The list doesn't have a hero, but there is a Destroyer Sister who is tough and can ambush into battle. Equipped with an energy sword, it can potentially dish out some damage in melee. Speaking of ambushers, there is a Pistolier Sister who can fly onto the battlefield. With twin light plasma pistols, it can pick off its target with a decent AP value. There are 3 Warrior Sisters. One of them has a standard heavy rifle, which allows it to designate 4 models including itself in its vicinity to gain regeneration that gives an extra 5+ feel no pain saves. We have a Warrior Sister with a Storm Rifle that fires 3 shots instead of 1. The last Warrior Sister is equipped with a Fusion Rifle which has a short range but high AP and deals deadly 3 damage. In Firefight, deadly attacks are not wasted on units with no tough value, because the wounds build up to increase the chance of the target being removed from play. Lastly, there is a support sister with a heavy fusion rifle, which is a fusion rifle with a longer range. On the whole, the sisters have lower quality and defense compared to the brothers, but the offensive output of their weapons seem to be higher with this list. Having rolled a 2 on a d3, 4 objective markers are placed on the battlefield. The Battle Brothers win the roll-off for board edge selection and initiative, so they deploy first. The units placed in reserve for ambush are the Destroyers from the Battle Brothers, the Pistolier and the Destroyer for the Blessed Sisters. The Battle Brothers deploy their units fairly evenly, spreading slightly from the centre. In contrast, the Blessed Sisters split up, with the warriors positioned on the right, while the support sister is placed on the left. The terrain is composed of a good number of line-of-sight blocking objects. There are also a few areas that are classed as difficult terrain. In these areas, a unit gets cover bonus when receiving fire, and shooting can happen into and out of these terrain areas, but not through them. The Pathfinder on the right moves towards the centre, reaching the edge of Objective 1. The warrior sister with the storm rifle attempts to stop him in the act by unleashing a salvo of bolt fire, but the rounds only succeed in punching holes on the metal sheet walls of the shanty building. A battle brother runs to the left side of the field onto Objective 3. The support sister moves forward through the bushes to intercept him with her deadly heavy fusion rifle. However, the beam just catches the Battle Brother, but with a defense roll of a 6, the Battle Brother saves himself from being completely vaporized. In the center of the battlefield, the elite Pathfinder invokes advanced tactics, moving the adjacent Battle Brother and the Pathfinder forward. The captain moves on to Objective 1 himself, keeping behind the building for cover. The medic sister takes aim and fires her heavy rifle at the Battle Brother in the center. Despite her aim being true, the bolt round is deflected off the target's shoulder pad, doing him no damage. The Battle Brother returns fire, but his own shot fails to penetrate the blessed armor of the sister. The warrior sister with the fusion rifle moves over Objective 4 and in position to target the elite Pathfinder. The fusion beam scorches the elite Pathfinder, who takes 3 wounds, leaving him rolling on the floor in agony. Or of fear, if you like. Having rolled a 2 for wound effect, the elite Pathfinder cheats death but becomes shaken instead. The remaining Pathfinder runs to his captain, providing him cover. At the end of the round, the Battle Brothers capture Objectives 1 and 3, while the sisters take 2 and 4. At the start of the round, the Destroyer sister warps onto the battlefield on the left side, ready to charge into the middle. In response, the Brother Destroyer appears in between the Destroyer sister and the center objective. The support sister with a heavy fusion rifle moves further forward on Objective 3 and fires at the Battle Brother, but despite his bulky armor, the brother rolls forward and dodges the fusion beam. He immediately fires at the support sister at point-blank range. While the bolt round hits, it glances off the sister's armor plate. The second Battle Brother follows and fires at the support sister. This time the rifle round penetrates her armor, dealing a wound, leaving the sister shaken on the ground. The Pathfinders regroup at the center as the warrior sister with the fusion rifle closes in. One of the Pathfinders lay cover fire, scattering shotgun rounds, but ultimately the warrior sister runs through. But her own shooting misses and is met with a barrage of shotgun rounds from the second Pathfinder. With a roll of a 5 on the wound effect, the sister is taken off the board. The medic fires upon the Pathfinder to avenge her fallen sister, but her aim is misguided by the enemy camouflage, that bright white and orange camouflage, and the rifle round fails to hit its target. Meanwhile, the 2 destroyers clash, and their swords are swung, chipping away at each other's armor, but the fight ends up being indecisive. As the elite Pathfinder recovers and stands back up again, the warrior sister with the storm rifle shoots at him from behind the destroyers in combat. She hits and deals another wound. With a roll of 4 for wound effect, the leader of the Battle Brothers has been taken out. The 2 destroyers continue their fight in a fatigued state, hitting only on attack rolls of 6s. The brother destroyer fails to hit, but the sister hits with 1 attack. Due to the rending nature of the energy sword, the attack deals a hit with AP4 and causes a wound even on the heavily armoured destroyer. At the end of the round, both sides keep control of the respective objectives that they claimed in the previous round. At the start of the round, the winged Pistolier sister descends on the battlefield on the left side. She immediately swoops forward onto Objective 3 and fires her twin light plasma pistols at one of the Battle Brothers on Objective 3. One of the shots hit and causes a wound, as the plasma bolt zaps right through the tough armor of its target. With an unfortunate roll of a 6 for wound effect, the Battle Brother is taken out. The other Battle Brother sees this and shoots back to avenge him. However, the winged Pistolier gracefully performs a barrel roll in the air, dodging the enemy projectile. In the meantime, the support sister recovers from the shock, ready to fight once more. The Pathfinders mobilize forward. One of them moves straight towards the medic sister while firing his shotgun. However, he fails to hit his target. The second Pathfinder advances towards Objective 4, also firing at the medic. He performs better with the 2 shots that both penetrate the sister's armor. A successful regeneration roll saves one of the wounds, but the other goes through, and with an unfortunate roll of a 6 on the wound effect, the medic sister is taken out. Meanwhile, the combat between the destroyers continues. The sister desperately swings her sword, looking for openings, but insulted by the wound inflicted in the previous round, the brother destroyer refuses to let another strike through his guard, and the sister fails to wound her opponent. She is then retaliated with a flurry of attacks that deal 3 wounds. With a roll of 2 on the wound effect, the sister is knocked down to the ground. The warrior sister behind her, shocked to see her leader losing the combat, desperately attempts to suppress the destroyer brother with her storm rifle. However, despite hitting the target twice, the bolt rounds fail to place a dent on its armor as they ricochet off harmlessly. At the end of the round, the sisters gain an advantage in terms of objectives, as the Battle Brothers lose control of Objective 3, which is now contested. The support sister targets the Battle Brother, but the fusion rifle suffers a malfunction and the shooting fails. The Battle Brother takes no notice of the support sister and carries on firing his heavy rifle at the winged Pistolier, but fails to hit his target as she continues taunting the Battle Brother with her display of airborne acrobatics. The Destroyer Brother once again charges at his counterpart from the Sisterhood and finishes the fight off with a coup de grace. The remaining warrior sister with the storm rifle falls back on Objective 2 while laying down suppressing fire upon the destroyer, but once again the bolt rounds do very little against the super heavy armor. The winged sister sees her leader defeated from the sky and rushes towards Objective 1 to deny the enemy their claim over it. However, the Pathfinders disperse over to the remaining objectives, which means there's 1 unit from the Battle Brother warband on every objective. At the end of the round, the sisters are now below half strength and are forced to take morale tests. The Pistolier sister passes. The warrior sister passes. The support sister fails, which means Objective 3 is no longer contested. As a result, the Battle Brothers gain control of Objectives 3 and 4, while the other 2 objectives are contested. So the Battle Brothers win 2-0. "I yield!" exclaimed the priestess in her damaged destroyer armor, who laid on the ground with both her hands placed forwards towards her opponent who stood towering before her. "You fought well, my lady," declared the Judoan destroyer as he offered his sizable hand to the warrior priestess. Repressing her resentment from the humiliation of defeat, the sister took the hand that helped lift her back up on the ground. "It seems that we have been defeated this day," admitted Sister Carmel. "I wouldn't kick yourself too hard." Captain Kazir limped forward from behind the building, where he was resting after being declared a casualty of the exercise. "I certainly don't feel too proud of my own performance today. I am glad we did not fight today as enemies." "As are we," Carmel affirmed. Shortly after, Kazir and his warband left the training grounds, having been picked up by the same dropship that had delivered them there. The Sisters of the Sancta Rosa watched the craft as it ascended above the clouds. The warrior priestesses all turned around to Carmel with solemn expressions. Carmel herself had dropped the facade of the graceful maiden, and bitterness appeared on her face as she grimaced. "Sisters, it is a sin to fail in battle as we did today. We must truly reflect upon ourselves, and we will get them next time." Well, that was fun. Compared to the Mass Army game, the dice rolls result in very swingy outcomes. The sisters had a couple of models with deadly weapons of high AP, namely the fusion rifles, which should have really threatened the Battle Brothers, but only one of the shots made a difference, which in fairness hindered the elite Pathfinder who only managed to call advanced tactics once at the start of the game. But had more shots hit, the brothers would have had a much tougher time. Similarly, the Battle Brothers had better quality and range with their heavy rifles compared with the Pathfinders, but in a terrain-dense area the range didn't help as much, and the multiple shots per turn at shorter range gave the Pathfinders an edge. The Pathfinders together managed to kill 2 more than the brothers combined. Finally, the battle between the destroyers was fun to watch as it developed. Ultimately, the one with the better quality and defense took the day, but it could have easily gone the other way round.